And Cookie, we're trying to get to 3,000. If we get to 4,500, that's all that's going to be produced, and he'll never be produced again.
Wow. So whatever amount you make, that's it. Done.
That's it.
And if you don't get to 3,000, then it's just not even happening. Oh, my gosh. Welcome back to Puppeteers. We're your hosts, Adam Krutinger.
And Cameron Garrity.
And today is an extra special day because we have Bill Rawley here. Welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, well, and so for, Puppet Insiders, the name Bill Rawley may be a new one for you out there, but he is someone well-versed in the world of toys and characters.
And collectors. A lot of collectors know him. He's not.
Yes.
He's known by a lot of people.
Right, for sure. He is the Senior Project Design Manager over at Hasbro, and right now he is here to talk to us about a really great new Sesame project, the Cookie Monster photo replica from HasLife as part of Hasbro Pulse. Bill Rawley, welcome to Puppeteers. We're so glad to have you.
Yeah, and I'm so glad we were able to get you on so quick because I know there's such a timeline for this project you have.
Yes.
A lot of our friends have been seeing I've seen a lot of them sharing the GoFundMe thing. Is it actually GoFundMe? Is that what it's through, right?
No, it's Hasbro's version of crowdfunding. It's called HasLab. So it's actually HasbroPulse.com. I'm sorry. HasbroPulse.com is where fans can go. It's our fan-targeted, crowdfunded, and really product for fans website that Hasbro's put together. It's fairly new. We did a sail barge from Star Wars last year. It was our big crowdfunded project. That went through, and then Cookie is our next one. So we're really excited.
That's fantastic. And for the people listening in their cars, maybe this is a great one to watch on YouTube because we've got the Cookie Monster project sitting right next to Bill here. Can you talk to us about what the project is and what the timeline's about?
So on the Sesame team, we make toys, of course, for children. Hasbro is the licensee, and Sesame Workshop, we work with them. And we make toys for kids every day, all day. And there's a couple of us on the brand that are fans of Puppets and Sesame Street. And we're much older than these children that we're making toys for. And we're pushing to try and get some fan product out there. And I was told I got one project. What would I like to do for fans? And I was like, well, I'm going to shoot for the fences, and I want to do a photo replica of one of the characters. So we quickly started talking. This has been in the works for about 8 months or so now. But we started talking with Sesame Workshop, and we decided on Cookie because he was going to be a big face of the character of the workshop itself this year because it's 50th anniversary. But also, he's such a great character. He's funny, and he's fun to just have and be around, and he's very squishy. So we ultimately landed on Cookie Monster as our character. And we wanted to make a photo-realistic replica as opposed to a hand puppet. This way the fans would have a good display in-house. It wouldn't be very kind of deflated. It would be nice, and you can get them in some good poses. And as everybody knows, Cookie, you can kind of get them in some wacky, crazy poses, and it's fun. And when people see me start actually manipulating the replica here, I mean, he's got full armature inside him. You can
look at that.
Have him do all of this. He sits, he stands.
That's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I love the way it's really so smooth.
It's really squishy too. It's like when you walk through the halls with them, I mean, people just can't stop but smile, and everybody who sees one wants one.
I'm sure.
Wow.
Well, and just just to see the way you're able to pose it so quickly too.
Yeah.
Because so often Adam and I have posed puppets before for different gallery things and for displays, and so often it feels like you're putting a house of cards together or something. Of if you move one thing, everything else falls over. This looks like you could do a stop motion movie with it.
That's for sure. Yeah, I think that's the difference between putting armature in a puppet versus building a photo puppet like this. That's the only thing this thing was made to do, and it does it perfectly. A question I've been wondering, looking at the diagrams, is the eye poseable too?
So the eyes are googly. They are going to lock into place, so they'll always be cross-eyed the way that Cookie's supposed to be. There's actually a style guide that you have to follow for this, but we are having them offset in order to get that googliness. And my hopes, I mean, this is our first prototype, so we don't have a production model yet, but our hopes is that you can literally shake Cookie and get his eyes to Google a lot. We have bearings and everything inside the eyes, so we're hoping to get a lot of movement in those pupils.
Wow, that's amazing. So one thing I was just wondering is this whole process of researching this character and the scale and stuff. What was that like? 'Cause I know you guys you did a visit to the workshop to see the puppets in person, right?
Oh, yeah. So I'm a big time puppet fan. I've been at Hasbro. This is my 19th year. I've worked on a lot of projects. I was a designer on Transformers for 7.5 years on toy product. I did toy product for Star Wars for 5 years. I got to go on set and step on the Millennium Falcon. I've had some really great experiences here at Hasbro. But when I went down to Sesame Workshop and they brought in the real Cookie Monster, and they have a cookie handler who comes in, he brushes them, and he poses them just right. I mean, goosebumps. Even now when I talk about it, I got chills because seeing the real Cookie Monster, it's like since I was a kid, I've loved Cookie Monster. And me and my plush designer, Teresa, were able to take photos, take measurements. They even gave us a big swatch of the actual cookie plush that they use. And their handler, the cookie handler, actually did some really nice illustrations for us that we were able to work off of. And we took all that information from New York City back up to Rhode Island, where Hasbro's headquarters are. And we got to work right away on our first prototype for what we wanted. And since the beginning, I wanted a 1-to-1 replica. Cookie's 38 inches tall. I wanted ours to be 38 inches tall. Yeah. I put nice articulation in the hips because I wanted full body. I wanted legs. I didn't want them to be floating on a display for a fan. I wanted you to have those legs. And then we're currently working through packaging right now, and the team is doing a fantastic job on the packaging. You can imagine the box is going to be huge. He will be sitting in box just to help save some space, but he fills the package real nice. It's a really fun, great project, and I hope he gets crowdfunded because I want everybody to have one because it's just so much fun to be around.
Well, yeah, that's true. We got to point that out too. That to the people, if they don't get fully funded, this project doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's part of why I the second I saw this, I was like, we got to talk to Bill and make sure that this happens because I know there's a lot of people out there that are gonna want this, but again, it's not gonna happen if you don't do it. And what I was most worried about too is I know that your normal audience that you have is mostly through that Transformers robots thing, and you're kind of trying to reach out to a different group of people in a way, right?
Yep. We have so we've reached out to toughpigs.com and Muppet Mindset, and they're helping us get the word out there. Yeah. But we really need to get more people's eyes on it. I had this guy at Comic-Con San Diego last week, and he was on display in a really nice Sesame display. I don't know if you saw any of the images online, but folks were walking by and they're like, "Oh, it's Cookie Monster," and they're waiting in line for a photo with Cookie, which is great. But then I would hand them a pamphlet, and the signage there says you could actually, crowdfund him. You can order one right now, and you'll get him in spring of 2020. So just 10 months from now, you can have one. And they didn't understand he was for sale. So we as fans and even Hasbro, we need to get that word out there to everyone that might want one so that we can get to that 3,000 mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as of this recording, we're talking to each other on July 31st, and you're right now at 386 backers so far.
And we need to get to 3,000.
To 3,000. So we'll get our loyal listeners. Hopefully, we'll be able to back this. And I think we said this, but can you give us the price for this, just for people? Because we'll say first, something this beautiful, it needs to, you have to pay the artists and all this stuff. It is a gorgeous piece of memorabilia, of toy, of puppetry. So just want to take it away.
So I have other replica posers that have been done by other companies in the past.
Yeah.
And I have them. I actually have them in my office, and I showed people to show because a lot of people in this building don't understand that there's a fan community out there that is really interested in this. So we want replicas, or we want to make our own puppets, or we're this interested in the small details and getting things as accurate as possible. And I know, Adam, you make your own puppets, which I do as well on the side. But the chance to own a piece of Sesame Street is kind of huge, and it's something I wanted to share with the fans. So since the beginning, I've wanted to do a replica something big and that I would personally want to put in my house as well. He is $300, which is very competitive to what the other posers were years ago. And here we are 10 years since anything has really been mass produced for fans. And we're still at $300, which includes shipping and handling to any one place in North America. Sorry.
And I gotta say that is a steal. Okay,
yeah,
that is a total steal from a couple different standpoints too. Because like I know those because I know they like Master Replica did the Kermit and the Gonzo and those. And if you look at those even on eBay now, and they stopped making those years ago, I think a lot of them are for sale for like $1,500 now. Mm-hmm. And again, like you said, they're probably about the same price mark before. I don't remember.
Yeah,
couple
I think
$100,
possibly more. And also,
yeah.
I mean, again, you've already mentioned that the scale of him is true to a puppet, and he's got to be, much bigger than, putting together a Kermit or a Gonzo. I mean, this is just remarkable.
He's a big boy.
Yeah,
he's definitely been eating some cookies. But
yeah. Oh, and not only from that standpoint too. Even like anyone whoever has bought or wants to buy a real custom made puppet, you know what those things go for. They go for thousands and thousands of dollars, And this, this is something that is being produced by a company, but again, it's such a limited, it is limited time, limited resources for it. So like now is the time to bite on it. If you're even thinking about, if you're wondering, because what's going to happen is this is going to go by and people are going to be like, darn, I wish I got one. Mm-hmm. It always happens.
Yeah. Our sail barge for the Star Wars project, which was last year, was $500. And those are going for quite a bit more now on the aftermarket.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So actually, at that point, if this gets picked up, would you guys would you continue selling them at that point, or so
the actual model and Hasbro's HasbroPulse.com, what we do is we do as many as get ordered, and then he never gets produced again. So,
oh my gosh.
For the Star Wars sail barge, you can't buy it from Hasbro again. And we made the 8,600 that were pre-ordered, and that was it. And Cookie, we're trying to get to 3,000. If we get to 4,500, that's all that's going to be produced, and he'll never be produced again.
Wow. So whatever amount you make, that's it. Done.
That's it.
And if you don't get to 3,000, then it's just not even happening. Oh my God.
Right. If we get to 2,999, I'll probably buy an extra one.
Yeah. But, yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Wow, that is so crazy. Now one thing as far as so I know you said you looked at the Cookie Monster puppet to get measurements and this, that, and the other. Did you have an opportunity to look at other armatures that they had as well for their poser puppets? Or is that something you had to kind of invent?
It's actually strange. Their poser puppet has a 1/4-inch sculpture wire that runs through him into his backside and up through there. And there's a lot of foam and filler, and then wire armature throughout. But then he can't actually stand, so they stand him on a
C stand, I believe.
Yeah, it's like one of the stands for lights and all that they use in production. And they just put the wire in there and tighten it up, and he floats, and that's how they kind of use him to stand. So we have some challenges to work through because we're not going to expect people to do that, and we don't want a big wire sticking out the back. So we have real hips in there with articulation, so he can sit and stand on his own. He doesn't have to lean against the wall. And this is our first prototype, so he's only going to get better from here on out. But
Yeah, because you're right. Because if it was just regular wire, it would get fatigued too, and it would break.
So a little inside look, as so to speak. This one that I built the internal structure, and my design partner Teresa did the pattern and all the plush, and we grew the eyes and we did all the hard parts in our shop. But this is made with wire and PVC pipe and some pieces I made of material called Ren and some other styrene bits and all that, and really nuts and bolts that I kind of put together. But our partners overseas that are working on the real armature inside have sculpted everything, and we'll print that all out, and it's an actual armature. I'm working with them to get the skull thinner so that it really looks like a puppeteer's hand in there rather than something that's big. And we're getting the shape down, and then we're fine-tuning the patterns that they have from our side. to make sure everything is going to be as crisp and as clean as possible. So this model was really thrown together with hopes and dreams and duct tape. And the real one that's being produced is going to have a full armature inside it, full finger articulation, hands. Everything that we're doing here is going to do as well. And I believe we still have a wire for the arms and the fingers. We have to encase the wire just for our quality assurance reasons. But
of course.
We're going to have wire in there. So you'll have a lot of movement for the arms, which is great for putting things in Cookie's hands. And it's a really tough wire, so you can get some things and put them right in his hands. In fact, if you guys don't mind, I didn't really tell you any of this, but we wanted to kind of reveal the accessory, the big accessory that we're talking about.
That's right. I was just gonna ask about that.
This is a Puppeteers exclusive.
That is the exclusive, yeah. Because if you read the thing, it said it comes with an extra special little gift, a little, What is it?
I wonder what it could be.
What is it?
It's a cookie.
Oh my gosh!
So this is our first prototype of the cookie, and I'll bring it closer to the camera. So it's
it looks stale.
It's a plush. It's a fabric cookie. We have a realistic cookie print on the front here, and it is fabric and very lightweight, so that it fits very nicely in Cookie Monster's hands. You kind of have him hold it, or have him, he's taking a bite out of it.
Yeah.
Pose him out. But that is one of the extras that's going to be coming with Cookie Monster. So it's a cookie about 5 inches in diameter, and he's got a little bite out of it, and he's pretty fun to pose with the cookie. We were doing some shoots today, and you can get him doing. You can turn it all the way around so it looks like he hasn't taken a bite yet.
Yeah.
Or you can turn it like he's already sampled the cookie.
Think of the memes, people, that you could make with this poser puppet.
You know what? So I'm so glad you brought that up again, because
you and I talked about this.
We did. We talked, but we wanted to bring it up with you as well, because we have I have a very good friend, Kevin Williams, he's been here in Buffalo. We've hung out before. He's a puppeteer. He's got his own little show, Muley the Mule, and he's a great cartoon artist and stuff. But he owns one of those Kermit poser replicas as well, and he took a picture of the poser replica, like putting its hand on a picture of Jim. Will you explain it more?
Yeah, sure. It's a picture. I can't remember if it was at a museum exhibit. There was somewhere where there was a photo, beautifully hung on the wall of Jim Henson in a black and white photo with Kermit over his head. And he posed the Kermit poser, kind of just touching and looking up at the picture. And it's this very sort of melancholy, remorseful, but really beautifully shot picture of the two of them. And I have seen that used, uncredited to Kevin, but hundreds and hundreds of places. I mean, I think if you probably Google image search Kermit, that's easily in the first page or two of Google image results. I
have that poser as well.
Yeah,
Kermit poser, and I've taken it to a photo shoot for my son, who's 6 now, but when he was around 1, and he was crying in his diaper with his back to the camera, and I put the poser around him, putting his arm around him. It's one of my favorite shots the photographer took that day, because to me it was Kermit comforting my son. And the things you can do with a poser puppet, it's just, the sky's the limit. There was a lot of fans. We had a lot of fans coming at Comic-Con, and a lot of them were dressed up in cosplay, and they were posing and doing different things with Cookie Monster. And it was really fun to see the interactions and some of the things that they wanted to Instagram or throw on their Facebook posts, because of the posability. And whenever I saw a small child come up to Cookie for a photo with a toy in their hand, I was like, "Can Cookie Monster see your toy?" And I would take the toy and I'd kind of wrap it in there in Cookie's hands. I'd make it look like Cookie's taking a bite or like he's hugging it. And the line lit up, because they're like, "I didn't even know he could do that."
Yeah.
Yes, fully posable. He can hold things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I'm going to have a daughter very, very soon. Any day now.
I know. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any minute, maybe.
Any minute. Yeah. If this clips out, we just run. We know what happened. But yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. When I'm ordering mine, and hopefully we get to 3,000, so it actually comes in. And of course, we'll be doing many photo shoots with her. And like you said, too, just the meme, the opportunity to make some kind of really cool, clever, creative meme and have it kind of go viral is so cool for that potential as well. That's just awesome. Definitely. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, something else that you mentioned when you were first describing the project, and I'd love to talk a little bit more about this, is you talked about how obviously Sesame Street is really doubling down on appealing to the adult fans, because there's so many out there now. Obviously, it's the 50th anniversary happening this year. picking Cookie Monster just seems like such a wonderful choice of someone that, you know, casual fans or even people on.
Wait, actually, but before we get to phrase it this way, like, how exactly did you come to picking Cookie Monster versus some of the other characters?
That's a great place to start.
So I decided I wanted to do a puppet replica, and I wasn't sure if we were going to do hand puppet or poser at that point. And I got to be honest, I went to the workshop with Elmo because I figured we do everything with Elmo, and the red guy is going to be the one we're going to kind of celebrate. And they immediately looked at it and said, "This is a great idea for fans. Let's use another character." And I was like, "Okay, all right." And I put the red guy away because I made a pretty good replica puppet of Elmo, and we started talking about characters and who else we could use and do. And there was a couple characters came across the table, which I don't want to really mention because I don't want fans to be like, "Oh, I wish they did that or this." But ultimately, when we understood the workshop's plans for this year and the 50th anniversary and how they were really going to lean into Cookie Monster and help celebrate, he's really been all over the place this year, and him and Big Bird, but we can't really do a Big Bird. But
I would have backed all 3,000 of those.
He would have done it himself.
Big Bird came to our booth at Comic-Con, and I got to meet him in person, and just to see that, to see Big Bird, it was just, that was another childhood dream right there. My heart blew up that day. But so we landed on Cookie Monster, and who doesn't love Cookie Monster? Everybody who sees him just immediately starts to smile. I mean, he's funny, he's soft and cuddly, he's a friendly monster. I mean, and he's all of us from when we were a kid. And it doesn't matter if you're a boy, a girl, whatever. You just identify with Cookie Monster because everybody wants to eat cookies.
You know, absolutely. Because we were talking about it, and obviously this is like a pilot program. If this does well, hopefully you'll do some of the other ones. But that's what we were talking about. And I said, you know, Cookie Monster is the perfect ambassador to this program. Right. You know, having this guy be first. Because, like, again, if you did do Elmo, you know, the thing with Elmo is people are passionate about Elmo. Okay, they're either passionately love him, or some people just don't like it as much, you know,
or didn't grow up with him because they just never
exactly that too, you know. And Big Bird again. And just to be clear, these are not my feelings. I'm making that very clear. I love them all, but you hear sometimes, you know, this character is annoying or that character is annoying. Nobody says things like that about Cookie Monster.
No,
he's the one. Nobody doesn't love him.
Yeah.
He's the perfect monster to bring into your house.
So, yeah, you know, it's funny because when I was typing in your name and trying to do some more research on you, I found some videos from some other fans of Hasbro Pulse that again, it's mostly like robots and things like this, and I typed in the Cookie Monster, and I think only one video came up, and the guy, his whole video was about robots and this, that, and the other, and then he mentioned the Cookie Monster thing too. He's like this is a unusual project for Hasbro Pulse. They're trying to get another audience. Like, good for them. So it's like it was so interesting to see how you guys really are trying to branch off and to get into some a different, not a different industry. What do you say? A different,
different
market.
A different market. Exactly. That's what it is.
That's the industry term.
So our Pulse program is really targeting fans of everything, and we've started off with Transformers, Star Wars, and Marvel being primarily the things we're focusing on our Hasbro Pulse website. But we're bringing Cookie in, and that opens the gates. We can really do anything Hasbro works on to really be fan targeted. And a lot of times it's difficult to get some of these bigger items or these more expensive items into the market and sell it at a retailer that would normally buy our toys. That's why we're able to offer these kind of far shots, these 3-pointers to the fans here or on the Pulse website, because that gives them the opportunity to say, yes, we do want that. And it's direct to consumer, so we can make it and give it to them. If we were to make Cookie Monster and sell him at a retailer, it would be much more difficult to get the shelf space, especially for this guy. And we'd have to make decisions on what toys we don't make or don't offer them, or they don't pick up in order to pick up Cookie. So it's more of a challenge to do it that way. That's why we decided to go with the Pulse and to try and offer things directly to the consumers, because it's really stuff for them that's made by people that are as passionate as they are.
Yeah, and you could definitely tell that passion that you have for these characters and for puppetry in general. I'd love to hear, and if this is something you can't talk about, that's fine. But would there be any other Sesame Street projects that you'd really like to be able to do, whether it was other photo replicas or start the hand puppet line, or do you have any other options that you'd really love to be able to give to this community?
Yes, there's a whole list. When I was going through what I wanted to do for fans, I looked at what was done in the past. I looked at the hand puppets from the 70s. I looked at the action figures that were done in the 80s. I looked at the Muppet figures Palisades did. All of these were on my short list of things that I would love for Hasbro to produce for fans. But when I was told I got one item, I didn't want to just do one small puppet or one action figure. I was like, if we're going to do one item for fans, we got to do a replica. And that's why we went in this direction. If this shoots off and your viewers see this and everybody decides they want one, which would be fantastic, and we blow over that 3,000 mark, I'm sure it's going to open up everybody's eyes here at Hasbro, and they'll start looking at what's the next fan-targeted Sesame Street item that we can start to look at. Or maybe Bill's not crazy. There is a whole community out there, people that we could actually sell product to that would be really interested. And then my hope is that once this becomes successful, we can start to use Hasbro Pulse to reach out to the fans and say, well, what do you guys want? Do you want another replica? Would you rather something smaller that you can maybe display more easily in your house? Are you looking for something along the lines of a highly detailed action figure? Or are puppets what you're mostly interested in? And if that's the case, then we can kind of work around some other hurdles that we might have.
Sure.
But the Pulse actually gives us the opportunity to communicate with the fans, and we'll reach out as much as possible. But we got to get this guy done first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Wow.
No, it's funny. Tough Pigs did this really great sort of crowdsourcing. They did a survey to all their the people who are follow them, and they said, "What do you want to see out of Sesame Street's 50th year? What kind of merchandise? What kind of television appearances? What this, that, or the other thing?" And I remember when I was filling that out, one of the things I joked about at the very end, I was like, it'd be great if Grover could cater the daytime Emmys, Elmo could host the primetime Emmys. I said, then I'd love for Sesame Street itself to be recognized by the Kennedy Center. And in the merchandise section, I said, I'd love for photo puppets to be a thing, and they're being honored.
I answered very similarly myself to that same survey, but
fantasies come true. Exactly.
That's so funny.
But
wow.
yeah, you maybe had some inside baseball knowledge when you were filling out that form yourself.
Right.
But
I don't.
That's right. Yeah. Wow. And even for people who are puppet builders, being able to have something like this as a reference in front of you. Do not take it apart, though.
No,
do not take it apart. But definitely as a reference in front of you, because I'll tell you, for me personally, one of my biggest obstacles that I had as a beginning puppet builder that I didn't know that I had was my scale was way off. And when I first started off, I was building these puppets, and I was pretty happy with how they looked. And then I remember I met someone and said, "Oh wow, your puppets are big." I was like, "What are you talking about? These are not big. These got to be normal." Because I was doing so much research to try to get the measurements correct. So what I do if someone had their puppet like this, with like a, what would you call it?
Like Avenue Q.
Avenue Q, or even I remember actually I think specifically David Rudman, a picture of David Rudman holding Cookie Monster, and he's got glasses. So what I do is I'd measure the glasses in the photo and go over to the eyes of the puppet and say, glasses are all probably for the most part the same length across.
Size.
So same size. I'm measuring Cam's glasses right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're about 6 inches wide. So it's okay, so that's probably that means these eyes might be about 2.5 inches each. So I was scaling things like that.
Lots of math.
See, you did better than I did. When I first started building puppets, my first puppet was a Gargoyle, And I have a sculpting background, so I immediately just took foam and started gluing it together with hot glue and cutting with a knife. And I figured it's okay. It's made out of stone, and his head was gigantic.
Yeah.
And then I made a body, and I covered it in like a granite spray, which hardened. And he was literally like a rock. He had no movement at all. And I was like, well, that's my first puppet.
Yeah.
That was 15 years ago.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah. But like I was saying too, it was amazing. You know, all that research. I was spending hours and hours building puppets, doing all this and that. I didn't realize my measurements were so far off. Because when the puppet's in front of you like this, even if it's just like if the puppet's 6 inches, ahead of you, it's amazing what that depth perception can throw off the scale. Like you would not believe.
When I go like this, he looks a lot bigger.
I mean, you just moved it probably like 10 inches, but it just, again, if you actually measured it, those eyes
looks like he could eat you now.
probably doubled in size. Yeah, absolutely.
Now he looks like a small toy.
Yeah, and to have something like this, if I had that when I first started, my puppets would be all would have been a normal size. So, yeah, and it wasn't until I actually went. I got a chance to go behind the scenes on Avenue Q. I got a chance to go to the Sesame Workshop, and my jaw hit the floor. It was all I talked about for a week. Everyone I knew was so sick of hearing about it. I was like, I can't believe how small these puppets are. I can't believe how small they are. They're so small. Can you believe how small they are?
At Comic-Con, some of the Sesame Workshop people were there, and they had some of the characters in a duffel bag. Like they had it unzipped, and I saw an Oscar, and I saw an Elmo inside there, and I was just like, they fit in that bag. Like the actual puppets can just fold up and just like they're just fabric. It's funny to imagine.
Wow, that's amazing. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind getting to know a little bit more about you. I know you went to the Fashion Institute of Technology, correct?
Yes. So they have a fantastic bachelor's degree program in toy design. So I actually went for advertising design first, and then switched my major over and got my bachelor's in toy design back a long time ago. But they have a wonderful program there, and they teach you how to design toy product for consumers. And I was able to go through that program, and then I interned up here at Hasbro from New York City, because I'm from the New Jersey, New York area. And I took the trip up to Rhode Island, interned here, and said, yeah, that's where I want to work. So I worked hard for my last year, finished, got out of school, and I pretty much just walked back up here. And I got a job at Hasbro in a group that did inventing internally. So I got to work on all different things at Hasbro. At the time, we were working on Tonka, My Little Pony, you name it. Star Wars, I would help out wherever I could. I did that for about 5 years. And then I switched over to Transformers right around movie 1 for Transformers. And I got to do toy product for movies 1, 2, and 3, and 2 animated series that we ended up doing with Transformers. Again, all toy product. And I had a lot of fun doing robots and figuring out the mechanisms and working with our partners at Takara Tomy over in Japan. And then I switched over to Star Wars for about 5 years, and I got to work on episodes 7 and 8, and Rogue One, and the Rebels animated series, which came out. So I got to do toy product for all of those as well. I did fan-targeted action figures. I did kid-targeted action figures. I ended my stint over on Star Wars doing lightsabers, like the big full-size lightsabers that Hasbro does, and the Black Series helmets, so the Stormtrooper helmet and the Darth Vader helmet as well. So, and they're, again, very, very as realistic as we could possibly produce for fans at a manageable price point. So I did that, and then I switched over to another group here at Hasbro for a year or so, and then it ultimately ended on Sesame and licensed preschool. So been making toys for all different age kids, from small to really big.
Well, yeah, because I'm glad we're talking about this too, because I think something like toy design is like a perfect, thing for puppeteers to at least have an interest or knowledge about, because of what goes into it. Because so many of those things could be applied to building a puppet, or even just the puppetry business in general. So many puppeteers I know are so talented as illustrators and sculptors, and again, and that's all part of toy design as well.
Yes.
What is there much difference between just general product design and toy design? Those are specifically different, or I imagine there's classes you probably take in both.
So there's product design, which is something you can take, and that major is offered in a lot of schools across the country. And I would say like product design would be designing a product for a consumer. So make a coffee maker that fits in a mobile home. You know, you got to solve a problem. You got counter space issues. You, as a designer, you have to start solving these problems for a consumer to buy this item. Toy design is specifically you're selling the entertainment and the joy to a kid or a fan, and you're thinking plastic or plush, primarily wood, but you're making that toy product. And for me, that's where my passion was. I mean, I've been drawing since I was very small. I had a sewing class when I was in 6th grade that I took, and I made a dog that was way too complex for me to do in 6th grade, but I love it. I still have it. And we have a fantastic sewing and plush class in the toy design program at FIT, and it's right in the heart of Manhattan on 27th and 8th. And when I was in that class, I mean, I started making my own patterns, and I was talking to the instructor, and I was so excited about making plush as well as drawing, and I also have a sculpting background. And I've done like wax sculpting, and I worked for some toy companies in the past that do primarily fan-targeted action figures, more grown-up stuff. And so I've had it all, and I've got a passion for everything. And when I got out of school and I had the time, I kind of started making my own puppets on the side. And I like to make puppets of my friends and then give it to them as like presents. And that's kind of where I started. That's
so cool. Wow. Do you ever, because I know, so you guys make the prototypes and then you send it off to be, produced. Do you ever, you're ever nervous about that transfer, having that be in someone else's hand? You ever get something back and be like, how did they do that? Obviously, I'm sure you would never let that get to consumer by that point, but do you ever, does that ever happen? Oh, I'm sure.
That happens a lot, especially with sculpting. And in the past, we used to sculpt in wax-based clay, or we would print something out in a very brittle material, and we would have to send that to the licensor for approvals. And then when we get it back, it's smashed just because the mailman dropped it or whatever happened. Or you're looking at it like, oh my goodness, now I have to reprint this, or we have to resculpt this, or we have to make all these changes. Thankfully, though, technology sculpting is all done through digital here at Hasbro. And the printing process has become top notch. I mean, the model shop here at Hasbro has some of the best printers in the industry, and they can print stuff out in a day, and it's completely durable. So if you drop it, it won't shatter like glass like it used to back in 10 years ago. So that stuff is great. It also helps us out because if we have to send it to a manufacturer overseas, it's just an email. And then they have the files. They can grow their own stuff. They can start to manipulate it and get it ready for mass production. Plush is a little bit easier because nobody's really going to break it. Although Cookie did have a couple mishaps at Comic-Con because he is a prototype. But his eyes, he took a nosedive and his eyes cracked. We got it back. We got it back together.
The final one will not break. It's just the prototype.
No. That was just our prototype model. Again, these eyes are much more secure. I regrew eyes for him and fixed them. And we're actually going to send them down to New York tomorrow. So you guys are seeing them before we pack them up in a box.
What's he going to be doing in New York?
We're going to kind of walk him around and take some shots around New York City, just as if he was alive, and have some fun with Cookie Monster. We got a couple stops, but we want to go to the actual Sesame Street sign, and I want to pose him, maybe pointing up at the sign, getting excited. Just kind of do like a day in New York City with Cookie Monster, with myself and Cookie.
That's so cool. Wow. So I know we were talking back and forth on email. One thing I know generally, like if you're going to get a plush made, again, that probably depends on the manufacturer. One thing I know that they usually ask for is they ask for the pattern, and they ask for 2 prototypes. So essentially what they do is they ask for the pattern, and then they get 1 prototype to take apart to make sure they see how the pattern goes together, and then the final one just as an example of what to aim for when they're building. Can you talk a little bit about that process for them?
So our soft goods design team that's helping us and working with me on a daily basis with this, they've done the pattern. My design partner Teresa has been fantastic, and she made this entire pattern, and she's constantly tweaking it. Even today, she's making some changes, and she said, I got to change the seam on this, and we got to do a little bit here and there, and it's been fantastic. When she finishes that pattern, or as far as we believe we like it, she'll email those off to our partners overseas to start working on those. Now, because of timing, and we're hoping this guy goes through and we get that 3,000, we need to get our partners overseas to start working on it immediately, to understand cost, and to really just start working on it, because we want you guys to have them as soon as possible. So we're kind of jumping the gun here and getting a little bit ahead. And Teresa and I actually spent a very long couple of days here and built a second model just to send to our partners overseas so they can take it apart and look at the patterns and how I built the internal structure, so they can start to better understand, he wants articulation in the neck, so you can get a lot of freedom, and how we want the actual hands and fingers to work properly. And their sculpted model, which I'm starting to see 2D images of it, but they're going to get all of the movement that I want and that I've put into my model. They're going to get that in theirs. And it's been great, just back and forth emails. And because they're so far ahead time zone wise, you can answer emails at night and then come back into work in the morning and you have answers. And back and forth communication is just flawless. But we did have to make a second model, and I believe it's being dissected, maybe, I don't know.
Plug your ears, kid.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something that Adam asked some great questions about the sort of the middle and end of that creation process, but something that you didn't take home with you from the Sesame workshop was a pattern of a Cookie Monster, and I wouldn't have expected that. And I'm curious. Can you talk about that sort of reverse engineering of whether it's a Cookie Monster or a Transformer or Boba Fett or whatever? That's got to be a really a huge challenge to get it as accurate as possible without being able to necessarily replicate or steal 3D renders from ILM or whatever.
So a lot of times, especially in Star Wars, we would get to see things, but we wouldn't necessarily be able to get them as early as we need them to start manufacturing. So the design team would have to look at it, remember, maybe do some quick sketching, and then bring it back to Rhode Island and replicate it and kind of show the team, this is the vehicle, this is kind of how it moves, and then we'd start ideating around a mechanism. For Cookie, we went down and we got to see everything, but we weren't able to take a pattern because all that's kind of trade secrets. And if Adam, you went to the workshop and saw that, it's very,
oh yes,
don't look behind the green curtain type of a thing. So we really got to see the model, and the team was in the room with us, and they were like, take as many pictures as you want. So we went and looked at everything, the plush, all that stuff. We took pictures close up, full body, sides, everything. And then we got to take that back with us. And as well, we got some illustrations from the team as well. Sesame Workshop was able to do a couple illustrations just to show us, make sure you get them wide enough, make sure eye placement is towards the front, not way back here.
Were you talking with Lewis Henry Mitchell by chance?
He's the official Cookie Monster handler.
Yeah, that could have been him. We had him on our show about this time last year. And he's the world's biggest Cookie Monster fan. So
he is.
That might have been him then. Probably was him.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll have one on his desk at some point. Yeah. That's amazing.
So Bill, as you know, the name of the show is Puppeteers, and we usually ask our guests to come on and talk about as we wrap up an episode, a time where something kind of went crazy, didn't go the way they wanted to when they were on set or building a puppet, or something crazy that made them want to pull their hair out at the time, but with some, with time in retrospect, you're able to look back and laugh. Maybe not enough time has passed since you starting this Cookie Monster endeavor, but do you have a good puppeteer story about developing the Cookie Monster? I would love to hear it.
So as I mentioned, Cookie did have a couple accidents at Comic-Con, and I got to San Diego Comic-Con Thursday morning on the plane. I turned my phone off, and when I landed, 11 o'clock in the morning, I turned my phone back on, and there's a message from my marketing partner, Courtney, who's in the launch video with me, and all it says is, Cookie took a spill, his eyes are broken. And then the next text says, don't worry, I fixed it with hot glue. And then there was a picture of the eyes, and I was just like, oh my God, when did this happen? And I immediately texted our model builder who was in in the booth, the Hasbro booth, and I was like, "You need to get over there and look at this." And he's like, "There's too many people around Cookie right now. We can't take them off and do eye surgery." And I was like, "I'll be there in an hour." And I ran to my hotel and just threw my bag and I got my badge and ran into the booth. And she actually did a really good job with it was pretty good for the eyes and the hot glue, and fixed it. And we waited until the show was over, and then I unhooked Cookie Monster because we had him locked up so nobody would run away with him. And I took him in the back room and I performed eye surgery with limited tools. But we got him with, I think, a box cutter to shave away some of the hot glue, and actual super glue to kind of get the seam closer for the eyeballs, because right now there's currently a seam right there.
Wow.
So that was a tear, and my heart was pumping the whole time.
That'll make you sweat.
I'm thinking how many hundreds of people are taking photos and putting this on the internet right now with a broken eye or missed eye.
Oh yeah, that would be a meme too, but not the kind you want. That's right.
A seam in the on his back or something that you could just stitch up, but the eyes are that's tough.
My God.
I did. This is another half a tear, I guess. After day 2 or 3, his hips were very loose because it's just a nut and bolt. And after sitting and standing with the prototype, they were very loose and he wouldn't stand very well. Again, it's a prototype, a first model. So I had to get inside him, and I didn't have all my tools and everything I needed. Teresa had packed everything for me in a nice box that was, of course, impossible to find at San Diego Comic-Con. So I had to take him into the back room and open him up with a box cutter along the seam, rip inside there, and then hand tighten the nut and the bolt on the thigh and the back of him inside there. And then I didn't have anything to stitch him back up with, so I had to use a stapler. And I just stapled him closed for the last day of the show. And 1 hour before the show closed, a little girl, I want to say she was like 3 years old, reached up and grabbed his jaw and just pulled it as hard as she could. And it just dislodged. It still looked great because of Teresa's fantastic patterns and everything, but I could no longer make him open and close his mouth. And I was like, one more hour. Gotta make it one more.
Okay.
And then he came back this week and we were able to fix him up and actually make him a little bit better for this interview, and then also for sending him down to New York tomorrow.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's awesome. Cool.
Appreciate you doing that.
Yeah. Now, what's the best way for people to support and follow this project and your future projects?
So you want to go to HasbroPulse.com and look for Cookie. It'll be in the Hasbro Pulse section, and you can click right there to crowdfund him. And like I said, he's $299.99, $300. That includes shipping and handling to any one place in North America.
And like normal crowdfunding systems, your card won't get charged until 3,000 are met.
So your card is not charged until I believe it's August 25th. That day, that's when you'll get charged. And you can order in quantities of 5, but there's no maximum amount. So you can order as many as you'd like. I spoke to a gentleman at Comic-Con that was a retailer, and he wanted to order 10, so he just ordered 5 and then another 5, and I was like, thank you, that's great. I need a lot more of those purchases.
Perfect.
But
well, thanks so much for your
Bill
time, Bill.
Rawley,
This was
thank
wonderful.
You so much
thank you guys.
We'll make sure we get on the horn and get people buying these Cookie Monsters. So.
And I love your show, and I love watching the puppet tutorials.
Thanks so much, man. All right, talk to you soon.
problem.
Bye.